Alright, so now we got this one last hole in the ceiling because we've been waiting on this fireplace. And we finally have gotten an answer from the homeowner as to what sizing the fireplace and the hearth needs to be. So we're going to go ahead and frame that in and finally be finished with it, and then we'll build to finish up the roof. So now we got that wall finished finally. So we've got a picked up hearth right there. The fireplace will sit on top of it. It's a gas one, not a wood burning one, but we're still gonna put down probably some hardy backer and then some kind of stone or other heat resistant material on top of that. But we got a custom frame for the fireplace, and then the homeowner was wanting to mount a TV above it. So we've got plenty of framing right here for that TV to mount to, and then we're going to build a nook for him to be able to put all his peripherals in behind the TV. So whenever we, after we bring down the roof, which now we finally can because we have a wall to set it on top of, and that comes out, we'll just frame that outer part up to the roof. And when we do that at that same time, we'll go ahead and build an actual platform and some walls back in behind that box for that. But we can now finally go ahead and get the roof on that area there and be able to get this completely covered over. Alright, so working up and down a hip on a roof here. With you have no rectangular, no squared 90 degrees angles to go off of with the actual roof itself. So what they are doing here is we've got a, let's see if I zoom in right here, you can see right there he's got a rafter square. It is a little bit larger than the standard squares, which are about 6 inches. That one is 12 inches by 12 inches. See how big that is? And what he has done, we've already laid off the wall because the wall is square. That's the only thing that we have to work off of, is a wall that is level and straight. So he's already laid off where 16 on center is. They've got the 2 that we had started previously until we could do the fireplace, and he's laid off from those across there. And then he has, basically you got to put the square up against the top plate, holding it real square with that, and then they run a string across, and they got to keep moving it ever so slightly until you see he's looking for when it touches, just barely touches across the top of it. So you want to work your way from far away from it and then slowly work towards it until it just barely touches.
Still good?
So he's got it right there, and then he can go ahead and mark exactly where that lands on the top, and they'll just have to do that all the way across. And once they have them all, then they can use those points to measure. So now they're flipping to the other side of the second hip. Maybe not.
I'm gonna need more string.
And when they do that, you should be able to see where they, when it comes up square.
Should be around there, yeah. Go through. Go through. A little more. Give me some more string. Alright. Take a little more. Huh? Take a little more, but I'm not. Scoop them in. Alright. Right. Is that good?
Pull it tighter.
Tighten it up a little more.
Pull it tighter. There you go.
Alright. Back towards me. Would you just quarter inch? A little more. A little more. Yep. All right. Right there. Right in the peak here. Yep. Alright.
So, yeah, the next one, when they do that one.
Alright.
Did you flip those ones for the long points or no?
Huh?
Did you flip them for the long points?
Yeah.
Okay. So no, this one goes the other way.
I know.
So now, like I say, now you should be able to see, which I may have to move the camera so you can actually fully see.
Back towards you. Back towards you. Oh, a little more. Right there.
Still good?
Yep.
Sure?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that it?
Yep.
Yeah. So, once you have that top point, the way that you can figure out the actual level, what your angle will be off of this, because when you do a hip, it depends on how far back you are. It can change the actual pitch of the roof, depending on what your style of the room is. So in this room, they were going for a particular look, which then changed the angles when they came into this little octagon area. So you just take a level and level that down with that line, and you'll usually, when you do that, you want to put an X to the side that the actual rafters should be landing on to help you get that measurement. Then you can take the rafter square and you'll spin that around where it's facing the other way, because that's the way it will be on the when you put it up against the wood. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit more. Here we go. And then you'll line that up on your line, your pencil line, and then you can read on the rafter square what you got. So we are reading that where it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That 5 is telling you that that is a 512 hip and valley pitch. So that's the pitch that we're working with. So the next thing that you need to do is figure out what the bevel is that you got to cut on your thing. So the way to figure that is you can put that string back up there again. You need to turn your rafter square where it is, you're going to put that point right on the line, have that string coming across at the right angle. You're going to put it right against that hip, and then you can read that what your bevel would be right up against what on the outside point of that rafter square. So we can see that we have about a 63 to 63.5 bevel. So 63-degree bevel will be close enough for what we're working with. All these measurements we've actually used previously with all these other rafters we've already done, and they have been very consistent, which is good. That means that the building itself is extremely square. So these are the exact same measurements that we used when we were going up this hip with these ones. On the other side of the hip is a 73-degree bevel, and that's simply because of where the hip comes out across it's like a 22.5 degree instead of a 45 because you're splitting in between that 45 degree angle. So on this side we had 63, and on this side over here those were 73s. And that same bevel coincides over on this side. Right here is 73, and then to the other side, the one that they're working on, that's a 63 degree bevel that you'd be working with. So everything has been really consistent, which is good. The actual angle of the rafter tail, which comes out with a 512 pitch, that has been consistent no matter what, because that doesn't change. You're not changing the angle that the roof is coming down. What you change is simply the angle that the roof is coming into the hip. So the 512 has worked consistently, which, like I say, good. Everything has been equal all the way around this entire octagon. And so now that we got the bevels and we got the angles, the last thing that they got to do, they've already got their marks, and they can go ahead and measure how long each rafter is, because of course with going up through there and then back down, every single rafter is going to be different. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to get all those measurements, then they're going to start cutting them, slapping them up there, and then we'll be finishing up the one last section of the roof.